You're right here.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good afternoon. Happy day after Super Bowl, as our brains are catching up. I'd like to call this joint meeting of the Gainesville City Commission and Alachua County Commission to order. And there was some question about reordering the agenda, but we have lots of people here for all those items. I don't expect the first item to take a significant amount of time. So I think we can just take it in order. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any members of the public wish to speak to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And motion passes unanimously.
I'll call the county commission to order, and do I hear a similar motion? And any comment on the order on the agenda? If not, all in favor signify with aye. All opposed, that motion passes.
Matt, is this done on purpose? Y'all like push me all over on one side and y'all...
We tried to put the good-looking people in the middle.
We failed.
All right, just want to know. Great to see you all. Hi.
I'm glad you're over here.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I think, Mr. Chair, you want to take this up?
Yeah,
You've had
so-
some ideas about where we head with the Joint Water Policy Committee, and then we'll just have a discussion about that.
Yeah, right now, there's a joint water policy committee that for a few years has met, and it's two Alachua County commissioners, two City of Gainesville commissioners, and then one commissioner from a small town. It's extremely effectively staffed by the county's EPD, by GRU, by other engineers and departments and so forth, and we've dealt with a lot of pretty tough issues. And one of the thoughts we had, because that board has done a good job in dealing with those issues, the meetings are televised, that we might use that, we might expand that to include climate change, climate resiliency, that sort of thing. And if we do, that would require a new agreement just to change the scope of it, and that would be a good way for our boards to be coordinating and hearing what each other is doing, and personally I think it's a good idea. Now, I will secondly say that the county commission, I believe, has asked our staff to come back at our meeting, which will happen tomorrow, to tell us how we would have a citizens advisory board regarding climate change and resiliency and so forth. And tomorrow the county commission will decide how to go about doing that. I don't mind us having that discussion here because it might make sense for us to have a joint city and county citizens committee. It'll be the same people that you guys would be hearing, that we'd be hearing from. And if that group is going to happen anyway, they might as well be advising you as much as us. So it's maybe a separate issue, but I think now's the time the county commission needs to hear if this is something that you want to do jointly with us and if there's advantages in doing that. So any other county commissioners have a comment on or correction on anything I just said? Okay.
I love the idea, and it certainly dovetails very closely with a lot of the work that we're doing. And I like the idea of a citizens advisory committee. We have so many experts in the community that I think would be enthusiastic about participating with this. So, you know, for me, I'm fine to allow you guys to have that discussion tomorrow, see what comes out of that, and then we can put it on our agenda, not for this Thursday, but the next meeting, and talk with our staff about that. But we already have all the staff that's sort of relevant to this work that's been part of the Water Policy Committee. So, you know, I think if we want to take action to ask the attorney to come up with some revision language to the existing agreement and bring that back to us, I think we could get it done sooner than later, so we can start keep. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, it meets before MTPO meeting, which meets about 8 times a year, you know, so there's been a regular discussion amongst the two boards on that committee over specifically water issues, but it just probably needs to be expanded to allow us to talk about a few other things.
And most of the meetings are televised, which is good so the public can follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As chair of the Joint Water Policy Committee, I wholeheartedly agree and move that we direct the city attorney to bring back language for us to join, to expand the role of the Water Policy Committee for other environmental concerns.
Okay. Motion second.
Make a similar motion for Cam's side.
Motion second. Sorry, Chair. Stepping
Very
on your
good,
toes
good job.
there. Commissioner Cornell?
What Mike said.
Okay, is that you, Commissioner Santos? We're good. I'm going to go just ahead and ask staff if general climate issues is good enough, or do you want us to be a little more specific with that? You know, for the city, we declare the climate emergency. There's some very specific language in there that I think our staff can pull from, and so if you know, we could share that with the county attorney and county staff just to make sure they're aligned, if that's good with you all. Mm-hmm. Okay. Members of the public wish to ask any questions or make any comments about this particular motion? Okay, back to the commission. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
On the county side, all in favor signify with aye. All opposed, that motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Good job.
Good work, yeah. Okay, next on our agenda we have the discussion of race and equity policies. Because the county wanted to update us on the Truth and Reconciliation process, and we just had the kickoff meeting for the community update on the race and equity work that's being done. I thought it'd be helpful just to let the county know where we were, a little bit of the work that the committee has been working on, and then also what is upcoming over the next several months. And so, Commissioner Johnson, would you like to?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so we have been, this committee has been convened for about 5 months, and we've been involved in some really exciting work. And overall, what we're doing is we're taking a look at our internal processes, procedures, and policies, really with the intention of achieving racial equity in many ways in the city of Gainesville. So I'll go ahead and read what our specific goals are, because we're focused on 5 specific things. 1, the city of Gainesville convenes a task force to answer the question, how can Gainesville become more equitable, with the intention of advancing racial equity and making significant progress within the city at large within 5 years. The city of Gainesville dollars used for contracting, consulting, and procurement benefit the community we serve at a minimum proportionate to the demographics of our city. And we hire, train, and promote a racially and culturally diverse workforce within all departments at all levels. Our resource allocation will advance racial equity. We meaningfully engage historically and presently marginalized groups, and that comes under the header of community engagement. And in partnership with the Friendship 7, we will commit to equitable development, meaning that quality of life outcomes such as affordable housing, quality education, living wage employment, healthy environments, and transportation are equitably experienced by people currently living and working in a community, as well as for new people moving in. And overall, is the goal will be recommending a series of resolutions and ordinances to be voted on by the entire commission. So those are our goals for the city. Our vision for the city is that we're committed to building a government that mirrors throughout its breadth and hierarchy the diversity of its community. The diversity of its community instills principles of equity within its policies, practices, and procedures to ensure equitable outcomes for all residents. As a unified team, we seek to face and dismantle the institutional and structural barriers that perpetuate inequities within city government. In addition, we will suggest bold and courageous policies and practices in order to eliminate disparities, transform city government into a more racially equitable environment, and achieve social progress in promoting opportunities for all so that every resident thrives. So we are focused on a few specific areas. 1, we started with our comprehensive plan, and everyone knows what a comprehensive plan is here, so I don't have to explain that. But basically,
Maybe explain it for the general public. Maybe we all know what a comprehensive plan is.
Yeah. So our comprehensive plan, this is going to be about an 18-month long process where we are reviewing our policies related to everything under the sun. And it really is, some of it is concrete and some of it is aspirational. So we have decided to embed racial equity as a core foundation within our comprehensive plan, which is, it's pretty cutting edge, because I would say that there are probably less than a dozen municipalities across the United States that have actually done this work. And we're looking to some of our peer cities that have done this across the country. So we have put out an RFP for this, and we are expecting that we'll get back some exciting companies that can help us do this work. So that's what we're doing with our comprehensive plan in racial equity. In addition to that, it's not just the comp plan that's important, but it's also going to be the policies that are associated with it. So it's not just aspirational, but we will have actual concrete policies. And I'll just give you a couple of examples that, for example, Seattle has put in their comp plan, because they went through this process a few years ago. And a couple of specific policies was that, one, they provided community benefits with large public facility projects. So that was one specific policy. Another one was that they decided to create at least 10,000 units of affordable housing by 2035 at a specific MFI. So these are just, a sampling of different policies that we can put with our intention of achieving racial equity. Second is purchasing and procurement. I don't think it's any, everyone know, maybe as everyone doesn't know, but we have a really big problem in the city of Gainesville with the way we use our purchasing dollars. And we are virtually spending no money, definitely less than 1% with Black-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses, and less than 3% with women-owned businesses. And I would really be interested to hear what the county's stats are on that. And I'm also going to be asking the University of Florida, because as a community, like, for example, we spent $91 million on procurement last year, and we spent less than, I want to say $200,000 with specifically Black-owned businesses. There's the header of minority-owned businesses, but when you break it down, it's pretty bad. So we are going to work on fixing that, to having that be more equitably distributed. And we know that it's going to take both a short-term and a long-term strategy. So for the long-term strategy, we have decided to put out an RFP for a disparity study. And the disparity study is really a creation of the courts, so that in case we do decide to have any programs specifically based upon race and specifically based upon gender, then they are legally defensible. And we are going to come out, after this disparity study, we are going to know a lot more. It is very in-depth about our community and really the landscape of our businesses. And there will be a set of recommendations that come from that. But overall, like I said, it's a creation of the courts, so that if we want to do something specifically related to race and gender, then we have to have this study. So we're doing that within the short term. Tomorrow we have a meeting that we've asked staff to come back with a series of suggestions that we can implement short term for procurement, and we're going to go over those as a committee and then present those to the full commission to vote on. We have talked about having a race and equity note on the agenda, and that would mean that we would have an understanding of how whatever we're voting on addresses racial equity. And we've come to the place where there are different kind of levels of this. The most in-depth level, which is something that is more staff-driven and staff-led, is what's called a racial equity lens. And a racial equity lens is basically a series of 6 questions that we will be asking whenever we're making any major decisions within the city of Gainesville, specifically through a racial equity lens. So I'll just read to you the 6 questions. 1, the proposal. What is the policy, program, practice, or budget decision under consideration, and what are the desired outcomes, results, and outcomes? 2, data. What is the data? What does the data tell us? 3, community engagement. How have communities been engaged? Are there opportunities to expand engagement? for analysis and strategies. Who will benefit from or be burdened by the proposal? What are the strategies for advancing racial equity or mitigating unintended consequences? 5, what is your plan for implementation? And 6, accountability and communication. How will you ensure accountability, communicate, and evaluate results? So in order to achieve this within the city, this is another staff-initiated and staff-led proposal, is that we have created core equity teams. So the core equity teams are, we're going to do this in 2 different phases, 2020 and 2021. The first group, we are going to, Tanisha, our director of the Office of Equal Opportunity, which will now be the Office of Equity and Inclusion pretty soon, has tasked at least one person from each department to come together, and they will be the head, or rather the lead, to help implement the racial equity lens within their departments. So out of this, I'd say the takeaway from this, what the most important thing is that we are going to be asking these questions whenever we make really important decisions. And the most important questions that we'll be asking is who's going to benefit and who's going to be burdened. How do we mitigate the harm that we might do when we make some of these decisions? We have also asked as a subcommittee what should be the responsibility of our community partners that we help to fund. And because as we see it, like, we are the, if we're an octopus, like, we're the head, and then we have like these tentacles reaching out into the community, right? So overall, like, what we would like to see happen is, as a community, we will be addressing race and equity. So we'd like to start getting our partners thinking those same things. We haven't decided how exactly that's going to happen yet, if we're going to make funding decisions based upon that, but we will at least start asking the questions of the folks that we fund. How are you addressing racial equity within your institution? What else are we doing? We have worked on a specific plan for communication about this work, because both community engagement and communication is a really vital part of the work that we're doing, and we want to make sure that we communicate this in the right way to Gainesville, as well as engage people in the right way with the decisions that we're making. And overall, the next steps, which are, I'm really excited because finally, like, I want to say 3 days ago, the job descriptions were posted. So we have set aside 2 FTEs for our racial equity specialists. And with part of the work that they're going to be doing is, we understood that we needed to do this work internally first, right? But now it is time for us to do this as a community. So really bringing in, the county, the rest of the Friendship 7, and other groups that will help to achieve racial equity in all ways, on all levels in the city of Gainesville. So really creating a steering committee of folks that will, with the community, come up with specific goals that we can reach. And I want to say that Gainesville for All did a really great job in really starting a lot of this work with the community. And we're going to just, kind of pass the torch and be able to involve the institutions at the highest levels to be able to come up with some specific, very, very specific goals that we can reach as a community within 5 years. And I would say that we already have decided at least on one of those, and that is literacy for our 3rd graders within 5 years. That is a goal that we have decided as a community now that we can reach. And now how we get there is going to be the next step. So these new equity specialists are going to be coming in and helping to galvanize the community around these and other goals that we will set. So that is the overall update. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. And one thing I would just add to that is, Commissioner Johnson pointed out early in her comments that there are not a whole lot of communities involved to this level in this work right now. There are some, But there are a lot of communities that are interested in this work and would like to be able to do it, but either don't know where to start or don't have the resources or whatever the barriers might be. And so, you know, I think for me at least, and generally with the work that the commission does anyway, we're hoping that what we produce is something that's exportable, that other folks can look at and find a roadmap to achieve these same goals, because there's nowhere in the country that doesn't need some attention to this area. And you know, if we can show how it can be done with a combination of community cooperation, resource allocation, and asking the right questions, then other folks can take that. And we have, you know, of course, joined the GARE network, Government Alliance on Racial Equity, that is a great conduit for us disseminating the information that we collect, both successes and failures. And Commissioner Johnson was incredibly I don't even know the word, honest and gracious with asking the community to support us in our successes, but also in our failures, because we're going to learn things along the way that don't necessarily go the way that we would like them to. The outcomes aren't the way that we envision them, but other communities can learn from that, and that's, you know, that's one of my hopes as well. So you know, this is the work of our community right now, but ultimately the work of a nation, and it's sort of with that lasting impact that we hope that we can really be of service.
There are two pieces that I forgot to mention also. So we are talking about, one, our comprehensive plan, workforce development and workforce equity, and procurement and purchasing. And there are two more. One that we have not delved into yet, but are going to be a part of this process, and we are going to invite the community in with some evening meetings with this, and that is one, community engagement. And because right now we're hearing, and many of you all have this experience, is that we're hearing from a select group of people, and we're making really important decisions for the entire city based upon the input of a small group of people. And it's really important that we start to understand and hear the voices that are not being heard in the city of Gainesville. And more often than not, those are Black people and poor people, and people that don't have the time, energy, or know how to come and lobby us. So that's a really important part. And also, we are going to be talking about equitable development and how we as a city can figure out how we can commit to that, not only within our projects that we do within, like, internally and that we're responsible for, but also how we might be able to have policies that can encourage really equitable development from our partners in development, I'll say, especially as it relates to gentrification and displacement. That's, for me personally, that's an important part, and that's something that will be part of the discussion under the umbrella of equitable development.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Commissioner, for the update. Is that Commissioner? All right.
I just want to thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for taking the lead on this. It's courage. I think that was one of the words you may have been looking for to talk about what you've been doing here. But as a former teacher in Alachua County, I'm very much aware of some of the inequities that you're talking about starting at a very early age, and so I really do appreciate you championing this, and will help any way I can from my side.
I love to hear that.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask for some help.
I'm there. Congratulations. It's good work.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornell?
Thank you. Good work, Commissioner, and really the whole commission for making this a priority. Couple of questions. So you had mentioned procurement and purchasing, and what would a motion look like so that we could gather that information across the street?
You know, I would just ask for disaggregated. Oh, I was planning on sending you all like a specific, but it be just aggregated data for your purchasing across the board and
Yeah.
just get the information about Black people, Hispanic people, veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and how much you are specifically spending with.
You're gonna
those
send
sorts
that
of
to us,
people.
what you did.
Yeah, or you can make the motion. I think
Yeah.
that would be great.
You had mentioned 12 other cities were doing this work.
Well, no, there are actually 200 cities
Okay.
that are actively involved in the GARE network, the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. And it's something that I really hope that the county will join at some point. But these are cities that are really actively working towards racial equity in their cities, and everybody's at a very, very different stages. Like, for example, Seattle and Austin are about 10 to 15 years ahead of many of the groups, and there's so many. As a matter of fact, there's a conference coming up, and I heard that they had to close registration because there were no more spots left, and this is kind of unheard of. So it went from like a group of 20 municipalities to 50 to 200, and there were 200 folks there last year, and I can't even imagine what the group is like going to be like this year. But there are groups that are working on this, so you really share best practices, you understand what other cities are doing, from staff to staff, from commissioner to commissioner. It's really a robust network, and I'm really thrilled to be a part of it. I've learned a lot, and there's so many connections that we've made that I feel like are going to be helpful. As a matter of fact, we brought Kimberly Archie from Asheville, North Carolina, and their city is about 2.5 years into this, so we got a really good understanding of where we could be as a city after 2.5 years of doing this work.
So, and then you just recently published your 2 FTEs for racial equity.
Yes, we posted them like a few days ago.
So I know we are in the process of, we have 1 FTE. I don't even know the title of racial equity. I don't, maybe someone from staff can help me. Jim, can you kind of help on what, have we already posted that position?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the position is the Chief Equity Officer that you're referring to. And it is going through our approval process and should be advertised within the next week or so, I suspect.
Yeah, and so I mean, one way I can see us kind of joining hands at some level at least is when your staff is in place and our staff is in place, and directing them to work together and then bring back to us different things that we can start to do. And so thank you for the feedback, and we can talk more later.
Yeah, and it's also the first time over the past 2 years, I think Gainesville now has, across our institutions, most of our major institutions, it's the first time that there have been chief equity officers at every single institution. This all happened within the past 2 years, so I think that that's a really big deal. And also, the Community Foundation just hired someone to focus on equity work within the philanthropic realm in Gainesville. So
It would seem like we can leverage what the Friendship 7 and then what the actual staffing at the institutions are doing to bring about, obviously, some good policies that you all are working on. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say about the Community Foundation, we're very proud, I'm on that board, but we're very proud of adding an equity officer, and the Community Foundation has said they're willing to be the convener of all the groups in the government and non-governmental groups that have those folks, because it would be good for them to be talking back and forth and be a great channel of communication. So as soon as, anytime now, the Community Foundation will be calling a meeting with these people to start bringing it together. And it's kind of nice for it to be a non-governmental person who's calling the meeting. It makes it, I think it makes it work a little better.
All right, very good. Thanks for the update, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
And I also, can I just interject just for one last thing, is that I want to thank the subcommittee, because it's not just me that does this work. There, Commissioner Warren is not here, but Commissioner Ward and Commissioner David Ariola are also on the committee. And none of this work gets done without a lot of discussion, some of it very uncomfortable. And we go through those discussions, and we come out with good decisions. We make some good decisions based upon that. So really, it's the work of all of us up here.
Very good, thank you. Any members of the public wish to make any comments? There's no motion on the floor, but any comments on the work the city and county are doing on race and equity? Just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Jess Larson. I have lived in Gainesville and Alachua County for my entire life, although at many times I have employed myself through traveling and doing a variety of works, including political jobs, across this country. I have seen many things done differently in other cities that I have visited, and other countries, and other states. Some things are done the same, though, in some places, and that are not good. Sometimes they improve those things. There are definitely things here that are good. That's why I still live here. But there are definitely things here that we could all improve. And long after all of you are gone, maybe I'll, from office. Uh-oh. How do I stop that?
It's not you.
It's nice though.
Well, okay. Thought I touched the button.
Got a good
So
sound
maybe I
drive.
triggered it. Look, I'm totally off my speech now.
We'll give you a little like.
So,
Y'all, or can we get a little order, please? Thanks.
So, long after you all are not in office any longer, there will still be much more work to do. Those that come in office later will have work ahead of them. You won't be able to do it all. I'm sure you all know that. I'd like you to do what you can while you're in office. I've really seen that there are places for the police department to improve. Recently, I watched the Just Mercy movie about the Alabama death penalty and stuff like that. I think it's really telling of how when we don't use institutions of public safety, be it city codes, Gainesville Police Department, Alachua County Sheriff, Alachua County Codes, although I haven't had as many complaints about them lately, we don't do the things we're supposed to do with those. I've called and visited other cities. You know, there's places that have elements of safety that we lack because we are misappropriating the funds that we tax people to collect and do the good for truly the evil. Many people misappropriate the authority of their workplace for personal beliefs that they sometimes share collectively with other people in the community, and they feel like they need to try as hard as they can to get their country back or rise their South again. And I ask you to identify those issues in the Alachua County Animal Codes, because my wife was bit by a dog. We have a photograph of it. We know what neighborhood it was from, but never did they find the dog. I could find the dog, but instead I've talked with some residents of the city that have had problems with animal control that are completely uncalled for, that they should have never. This exists in city codes, the worst. Although I have seen it in Gainesville Police Department. There are crimes I've seen that I've never reported because I was scared. I'm not the only resident that has lived this way. Though I have reported many crimes, those were the times when I felt that I could. I don't get good results from the police sometimes when they show up. I don't get good results from codes. And I came down today not to speak to any of you, but just to talk to the mayor about the personal problems I'm having with my health, my father's health, and the fact that I couldn't even face him today because he ran and hid in Gilchrist County so that he wouldn't be faced by city codes because they barraged him so much this past week and called him again 3 times on his personal cell phone. I didn't even plan this speech. I'm sorry I went over my time.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Larson.
really need
Appreciate it.
relief from this one issue so that I can travel and make enough money
Thank you.
to just
You
pay
can-
all my
you can
problems
talk to the
away.
city manager.
And I'll help with the city
Thank you,
later on.
Mr. Larson.
I've been waiting for a
Mr.
meeting
Larson,
with you, sir,
I need
and
you to,
I'd like to
Mr.
get
Larson, I
your
need
call.
you to
Thank
conclude
you.
your comments. Thank you. Could I have the next speaker, please? This is about race and equity in Gainesville.
Hi, I'm Christine Larson. I would really like you guys to do this plan you're talking about. Sounds pretty good, especially if you pay attention to the portion of how it's going to possibly hurt some people and those different details. But I want to echo what Jess had to say just now. We have a lot of issues that can be worked out with the police department and codes, and the authorities who are supposed to be there for our peace and safety and welfare. Please get rid of the corruption and the evil that exists and look out for it. Look for it, it exists, and please try to get rid of it. It will help us, little people, who are the people who you're working for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to make any comments? Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Anthony Johnson. I'm not sure how the format's going with this. Matter of fact, this is my first time in your facility, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
you're here.
Appreciate it. So there's no motion on the floor,
No.
but we're just having a general discussion on racial inequalities and disparities. Now, Commissioner Johnson laid out, she gave a robust description of what she has in mind. Now, is that going to be all of the discussion that we're going to have on this topic? Will there be a motion put forth, or will there be other commissioners weighing in? How's this? The reason I ask is because I have a list of comments that I would like to bring forth, but I would like to wait until I hear everyone weigh in on this before I, reveal what I have to say about this. Based on what I just heard from Commissioner Johnson, I would say that's robust. What I would add to that is, if possible, if you could study or bring someone in who is familiar with the agile methodology, okay, that would be something that would help implement what you just rolled out in a more efficient, organized way that the public can follow along with, and it would be easy to measure. So agile methodology would be one thing I would add to that. And the reason for that is because of the 5-year date. That's a non-starter. It shouldn't take 5 years to start seeing improvements and determining whether we're moving in the right direction. We don't have 5 years to go before we realize that none of this is working. So use the agile methodology. That would be a way to make sure that never happens. I'm sure if you were versed in it, you would love it. I grew up on it in my career, fell in love with it, and I run my life based on it. So, but as far as my opinion or my suggestions, I will hold those to later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anybody else like to make any comments on this particular item? Okay, well, thank you all. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for the update. And we'll be sure to let everybody in the community know, including our institutional partners, as progress happens and as we have more opportunities to get together and take meaningful steps when that is most appropriate. So, and any assistance that we can give, is, if you want to help how we parsed out procurement or anything like that, we're happy to help. Okay, Mr. Chair, our third and final item, Truth and Reconciliation Update and Process Overview.
So what I'll do is I'll just briefly talk. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Chestnut if he wants to say anything, and then we've got a staff presentation, and then we'll have some additional comments. When the lynching memorial and the Peace and Justice Museum opened up in Montgomery, people from Gainesville started going right away, and one of the initial questions that it raises is, when would the county be ready to reclaim our part of that monument and all that entails, which is a truth and reconciliation process. There's no checklist for a truth and reconciliation process right now. It's what we believe it should be. Ultimately, the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery may come up with a checklist. We are engaged in a soil collection project with them. One group is at one of the lynching sites in Newberry. Another group is working on getting a historic marker. And both of those groups are interfacing with the Equal Justice Initiative. And it's an interesting process because it's very clear that they have fairly strong benchmarks, and I think that we will learn a lot from that. But the truth and reconciliation process that I believe we need to go through in Alachua County is one that we believe is sufficient for us to be able to, as part of any institution, any group, look at it and say that we have done the work of understanding our history. That's the truth part. And we've done the work of repairing what we can. That's the word that's not spoken, because reparations need to be part of this discussion. And only when we've done those does reconciliation come into play, and that's how we move forward effectively. So one of the things that the county talked about, and I think focused our efforts on starting last year, was to look at the 4 squares of county government historically, those things that the county did or did not do, particularly in the Jim Crow era and more recently than that, and document those as well as we can. And that's things like the leasing of prisoners, and that's things like using the tax code to beat people out of their land, and it's things like the way that the criminal justice system worked or didn't work. We all know there's things like affordable housing, healthcare, and a number of other issues that county government may have had something to do with one way or the other. So what we want to do is show to all local governments, both our city brethren and counties around the nation, how one gets very introspective on the role of county government. Fortunately, perhaps very uniquely, we have a group of folks who have worked in the ancient records area. All county commission meeting minutes back to, I don't know, we've been a county since 1824, I think, but all the minutes that we could find have now all been digitized. So anybody can do a quick online word search for certain phrases and so forth. That's a tremendous research tool. All of that was done by volunteers. They're now going into probate records and deeds and all kinds of other ancient records. And as those are being digitized, they become a resource for everybody from amateur historians like myself to professional historians and others who can really write the story. A lot of that is going to be linked on our website, which we're going to get a brief look at in a few minutes. And so what we hope to do is put out all the tools out there that anybody who wants to get to the truth part of this and maybe even calculate the reparations part of it will have the information necessary to make that happen. I'd say we've done maybe 1 or 2% of the work, and I think you'll see on the website that it's a very robust website that has a lot of room to expand, and we hope over the next months and years that we will turn that into a tool that allows us to look back retrospectively and keep track as we're moving forward, so that at some point we can raise our hand and say, we have gone through the process. We now want to accept the monument that's been built for us in Montgomery and is sitting there, and that we deserve to have it because we have done all those things that we believe are in our power to have the tough conversations and move forward. Now, I've talked with a lot of white people and I've talked with a lot of black people and everybody in between about what this means, and there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations around this. A lot of African Americans say, we really are not as interested in looking in the past. We want to look forward. We want to fix things. We want to get to the future that we want. There's a lot of folks who are suspicious of a process that looks at history, because history has been, if anybody's gone to the National Museum of African American History in Washington, I think you'll have the same experience I did. I got a very robust education in history, and what I found is literally every 5 minutes going through that museum, I was being confronted with something that I had never been taught, never knew about, and there's a lot that we have to learn and unlearn about the way we see the world. And I hope that this effort that Alachua County is working on will be our part of doing that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Chestnut, and then we'll go to the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your comments. Basically, I'm going to be short. On Friday, February the 7th, there's a memorial services for the victims that were lynched in Alachua County. It starts at 6 p.m. at Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church. It's to pay respect for those who were lynched in our county, who might have or might not have had a proper service. So we will recognize those. We will light all 46 candles. For those that are unknown, we would say brother or sister, or an infant or a child to them. And hopefully on February the 17th, we would have a community meeting where we invite all of the 9 municipalities in Alachua County to come and be a part of the truth and reconciliation process, to also for those areas who had lynchings, so that this committee can start helping them in those communities to address the lynching and getting the information so that we can apply for a marker for those communities, and we would probably help them. We've already started a Alachua County Remembrance Project, and also we're going to ask all of those in the community, either sororities, fraternities, social groups, to participate, because we're going to need their assistance in gathering facts and information about the lynchings and what actually occurred in their community, so that this will never, ever happen again in this community. And so that's what we're going to do. But I invite everyone to the memorial service on Friday, this Friday, at Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church at 6 p.m. For the memorial service. And I'll turn it over to staff. I think staff will go through some of the process of the Truth and Reconciliation with the Equal Justice Initiative. Mr. Smart is, Assistant County Manager Smart is the liaison person for Alachua County to the Equal Justice Initiative, and he's been in contact, and he will share hopefully some of the ideas in terms of what they're looking for us to meet their checklist or their sheet to start with. You know, as a process of collecting soil, having an essay contest, and all of that stuff. So I'll leave that to staff to discuss. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Howdy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Carl Smart, Assistant County Manager. Just wanted to let you know that I've agreed to serve kind of as a liaison, if you will, between the coalition between the Alachua County Remembrance Project and EJI. EJI is the Equal Justice Initiative out of Montgomery. I was on the conversation with them, phone conference with them Friday afternoon with Jackie Davis. Also, we were talking with them, and a couple of things have occurred. One is that the city of Newberry is, the concerned citizens of Newberry are ahead of the game, if you will, because they've already done a lot of research, and they've already submitted a proposal to do a soil collection ceremony. That ceremony right now is being planned for April the 4th. And in that ceremony, they would actually collect soil from the site of a lynching. In Newberry area, history shows that back in 1916, in fact, August 19, there was some lynchings occurred. There were 6 persons that were known to have been lynched, and they call them the Newberry Six. And so they want to collect soil from that site. And as part of the collection, soil collection process, they would collect two jugs, if you will, 2 jars of soil. One jar would remain here in Alachua County to be displayed in a proper, appropriate place. And the second jug would go to Montgomery to be a part of the Legacy Museum, and showing that the lynchings did occur here in this county. The soil collection project is one part of the overall remembrance project. Another part is the historical marker. Commissioner Hutchinson, Chair Hutchinson mentioned it, also Commissioner Chestnut. And the marker would actually commemorate the lynching and give a story of what happened on that plaque, on that marker. The marker can be, you can have a marker for each site, or you could have a marker in one central location that memorializes different sites in the area. Newberry is already working to do that, to get a marker, and the plan right now is to put it in I think it's the Freddie Warmack Park, which is right across from an area where lynching occurred. EJI is excited about working with the community, and what they would like to see is, as Commissioner Chestnut mentioned, a coalition that is made up of representatives from each of the community, each of the cities within the county. And so we certainly welcome the participation of the city of Gainesville, as well as the other 8 cities in the county, and some of the, of course, unincorporated areas also may have communities where these incidents occurred. And it really is in order for the concept to work, we're going to have to work together in order to make it work, and do a lot of research to find the history, find out what happened, where it happened, who was involved, and then memorialize and recognize those individuals. I'd be glad to respond to any questions if you have any questions of me. And we have staff available to talk about the visit that staff has made a visit to Montgomery and to, I think it included Selma also. They've done some research and they've also put together a web page. And so I would yield to them if there's no questions of me.
I was just going to ask you, thank you, Mr. Chair, if staff could share with the City of Gainesville, we had given some direction about getting a couple of dates.
That's correct.
On the calendar for some town halls and some more bus trips up to Montgomery, and then ask staff to share with the City Commission the website and where we are on that direction. Because to the extent those buses aren't filled and we need to ask if anyone else wants to go, I think this would be a great body to address.
Hello, Mayor Poe, Chair Hutchinson, and Commissioners. I'm Kathleen Woolston-Pagan, a comprehensive planner and staff liaison to the County Historical Commission. Following a November 2018 motion of the County Commission, our county manager first assigned myself and 2 others to work on truth and reconciliation efforts. Me representing the County Historical Commission as staff, EO manager Jackie Chung, and IT project lead Joelle Laguerre. We traveled to Montgomery in early August 2019, where we joined students from the UF Samuel Proctor Oral History Program with Dr. Paul Ortiz to visit the Equal Justice Initiative. Now I'll refer to the acronyms SPOP for Samuel Proctor Program and EGI. EGI begins the list of lynchings at their main memorial in 1877, the year Reconstruction ended, since national records are more reliable from that point, and they wanted no reason for their research methodology to be challenged. Their research also requires 2 primary sources for verification. Using the EGI list as a starting point, the County Historical Commission is continuing research of this history in our county. Many thanks to Karen Kirkman of the Historic Hale Homestead for searching for the primary records, and acknowledgement of the late Keith Ballum of Historic Melrose, Inc., who brought forward testimony that was made to Congress by Leonard G. Dennis. We think he was an attorney. Mr. Dennis was an attorney from Massachusetts who moved here because some of the Samuel Proctor students have found an 1880 census record with his family records. The Alachua County lynching count that has been documented is now 46 between the years 1867 and 1926. There may be more. Most killed here were blacks, however, 3 were whites. While in Montgomery, we were able to meet with EGI project manager Gabrielle Daniels, who emphasized the need for a strategic approach in communicating this history, and noted that community engagement and participation is critical. So thanks to the group now working on the community remembrance to engage more of the public. Following the Montgomery EGI visit by our 3 staff, Alachua County began a partnership with SPOP. Several meetings occurred with Dr. Ortiz, Dr. Marini, and others to work on strategy and outreach. Now 2 SPOP interns, Keely Luttrell and Charity Kelly, are working to research and locate any further records on the victims of lynching in our county and related history. Today's presentation will review the Montgomery sites that staff visited. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, and Commissioners. I'm Jacqueline Chung, Equal Opportunity Manager, Alachua County. And I'd like to share with you now the slideshow documentary of our trip to Montgomery and the sites we visited, such as the Equal Justice Initiative Legacy Museum, the Lynching Memorial, Rosa Parks Museum, and the City of St. Jude, which might be new for some of you, because it was certainly new for those of us who went on the trip. And this journey pretty much documents a history of racial terror, racial inequity, and social injustice. And I know I can speak on behalf of the three of us on the trip that this was profoundly impactful for us. So we'd like to share that with you, and then Joelle will go over the website for the Truth and Reconciliation Project.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Joel Laguerre, project leader with Alachua County's Information and Telecommunication Services. I'm here to give you a brief introduction to the Truth and Reconciliation website. The site is live and can be found at truth.alachuacounty.us. And in accordance with item 6 of the Commission's Truth and Reconciliation Initiative, truth.alachuacounty.us will serve as an online resource for documents, images, recordings, and community efforts related to this project. We are currently working closely with county's internal staff, constitutional officers, the Historical Commission, and the University of Florida Samuel Proctor Oral History Program to gather and vet as much information as possible for features like our timeline. We also want to offer the website as a way to promote related local events, but most importantly, we would like to use the site as a way for those communities most affected by these atrocities to have their stories told. I'd like to thank our IT staff for all their hard work so far. We have a few more features that we'd like to release, but as we're gathering more information, we're finding that this is something that's going to take time to develop, and even those ideas that we thought would be the best way to communicate what we find, we're finding that we have to take a different approach, which I guess encompasses the point of this project. And I'd really like to thank the commissioners for allowing us to go on this trip, because it really helped us understand the possible value this can have on our community going forward, and how to approach it and the positive outcomes it can have. So again, the site is live at truth.alachuacounty.us, and any input that the community has, we'd be happy to implement it, and we want to really encourage everybody to get involved so we can serve as an umbrella for all of these efforts that I've heard about today, and I know that we aspire to do here in Alachua County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. And we'd also like to reiterate, responding to the question from Commissioner Cornell, we are working towards setting up community forums, and also looking at setting up trips to Montgomery for those persons who might want to go and visit the museum as well as the memorial. I think it'd be just excellent way to take a look, if you will, back at that part of history. And I want to emphasize also the February 17th is community meeting that Commissioner Chestnut mentioned, and that would be the first opportunity to really bring representatives together from all over the county to talk about this truth and reconciliation process and see how we can work together moving forward. So February the 17th, that's at the Senior Center on 34th Boulevard, and that starts at 6 o'clock, I think it is. 6
to 8.
Yeah. Any questions for any of the staff? We'd be glad to try and respond to your questions.
No, I'd like to make Commissioner Gail Johnson is a part of the steering committee with the Remembrance Project, and I forgot to state that earlier. Yeah. She's been there, and she's been very supportive, and and she's going to continue to be with us. So I just want to make that to recognize her, that she is a part of the steering committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And if somebody on the commission wants to make a motion to ask the clerk to look at, as she comes back, to ask the clerk to work with the county commission on scheduling some of those community forums, that way they could start that conversation.
Mr. Mayor, unanimous consent.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes, Madam Clerk. Appreciate you helping us out with that. Any other questions?
Public comment before on the motion?
It was a procedural motion. Any other questions?
Comments?
Sure. Go
Yeah. I really appreciate that the county is taking the lead on doing this, and I think that the website is a fantastic idea to be able to communicate with people, so thank you for taking the lead on this. One thing that I want us all to keep at the forefront of our minds is that this is the truth and reconciliation process. And I'd like to hear a little bit more from Commissioner Hutchinson about what you meant about reparations. And if you imagine that being a part of this process. You said something about calculating. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Well, I always view the process as truth, reconciliation, and the whole stuff in the middle is reparations. How do we fix the things that we did wrong? And reparations is a word that makes many people grab their wallet. They say, oh my goodness, they're coming for my money. Well, in reality, we have to spend money to fix problems like the educational deficits and the healthcare deficits and the housing deficits and all those things that have occurred as a result of the Jim Crow era. And we're doing some of those things. We're not necessarily counting it as reparations, in part because we haven't done the truth side of the work. I mean, with respect to educational deficits, we know many of the historical reasons why that happened, and we know that we need to spend more money. But just as you mentioned, the study you're going to do about how to be able to target expenditures that may designate groups of folks who are disadvantaged, we have to be able to do that, and you do that through the truth part of the process. It wouldn't surprise me if we can't figure out who were some of the families that were impacted by prisoner leasing who built the county roads. I mean, the road system in this county was largely built by prisoner leasing. Prisoners were people that were arrested for the most specious of causes. If you didn't have a job, you could be arrested and put to work. And typically the sentences were for a year, and you worked, and you probably worked for the county road. We know you worked for the county road crew, as well as for private farms and businesses and so forth. So we need to do the research on things like that. Redlining was something largely done by financial institutions, and we're not telling them how to do their business, but we certainly are going to be able to document the effects of redlining on people's ability to get mortgages and hold property and build equity and all that sort of stuff. And again, to the extent that we can repair those things, maybe we repair redlining by creating a community bank that takes into consideration the historical inability for African Americans to get loans the same way that white people could, you know, the VA bill after the war and so forth, and try to make reparations that way. There are things we can do. Some of them will be pushing the envelope, but we need to push the envelope. And so I think the sooner we start talking openly about reparation, and frankly, I think that the website can start documenting those things that we believe are reparations. I mean, some of the stuff you're talking about are reparations. And if there's a lot of folks who have done the math problem on the cost of slavery and the cost of the Jim Crow era and so forth to black people and what the economic value of all that was and so forth. But we need to translate that into what are we going to do today to make up some of that historical deficit that we've created. And I think there are ways to do it, but we have to start accounting for it. And I'm personally willing to look through the county budget or look through other programs that we have and say, you know what, about 10% of the expenditure right there for helping kids do this or whatever, we can count that towards the reparation side of the ledger. And eventually, we will, I think part of what you're doing is wanting to create a new way of accounting for the way you do city activities, and we do the same at the county. What are those things that we can do to add to the reparation side of the ledger that clearly benefit previously disenfranchised or people that were not allowed to thrive the way they should have? And at the end of the day, for some folks, it is simply going to be an accounting problem. I think for many of us, it's much more than that. It's a moral and ethical problem and so forth. But for others, I think we need to be able to show them that we are accounting for history. And personally, I think it's a fascinating problem. I think it creates all kinds of interesting conversations just around that. It not only teaches people history, but it brings the history to today where we can look forward and like change the arc of history in the future. But not if we ignore the fact that there's real costs that were imposed as a result of the Jim Crow era and the policies that the county adopted. Now that we've got all the county commission minutes, we can see those policies in play. We can see where decisions were made that clearly hurt some people and helped others, and it's time that we do what we can to fix them. You know, it took us, 400 years of history to get things to the state they are now. If we don't start, it's going to be 400 years before we get things fixed, and we need to work a lot faster than that. So anyway, that's my feeling. I'm sorry it's not a little more specific, but I do know the things we need to look at, and we can start with the easier ones to find, like prisoner leasing, because we've got records. We now have records of how many prisoners were put on different road projects and stuff. And we can do some math problems, and we can probably even identify through court records that are being digitized who those folks were, who their families are today, who were disadvantaged at that age of being denied a breadwinner.
Yeah, and I thank you for saying that, because I think it's important to say out loud. I'm interested to see how this really unfolds as a conversation in our community, and also as specific steps towards that. I wouldn't necessarily agree that reparations is the same thing as leveling the playing field, but it's certainly part of the same conversation. And also, I think it's important to recognize that, yes, what happened in the past, but there is certainly racial terror that is still happening within our community right now, and within our communities right now, in many different ways. And whatever we can do to recognize that and also really fix that I think is part of the process. So it's happening now, and how do we recognize that, and how do we have that conversation and deal with it? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else up here? Turn it over to the public. Okay, let's hear from members of the public that wish to speak on this item, Truth and Reconciliation Process.
Mr. Mayor, Jim Conish. I'm very disappointed that as downtown Gainesville dies, as our utility goes further and further into no man's land, hurting everyone, including blacks. I'd like to tell you my story. My grandfather got off the boat named Karandashevsky, and we were given Conish. And I thank the immigration officer for that. But that's how it starts for us. So he has 14 children. My father in Pennsylvania, my father leaves home when he's 15, becomes a tool and die maker. After that, my father had 2 children. I had 1 child. My brother had 1 child. So once we started having the number of children we could afford, things got a lot better for our family. And I think a lot of families are like that. But while you condemn slavery, which is reprehensible, of course, my ancestors were living in those coal mines that you like so much. You stopped getting your coal from mountaintop, so you get it out of a coal mine. And they worked in coal mines for almost no money, no union, no environmental protection, black lung. In Pennsylvania, they pile it's called like pilings. They pile the waste from the coal. That would catch on fire and just burn. They were just burning dumps everywhere. Everyone's breathing it, contaminating the water. So the idea that while slavery was taking place in the South, we were having a picnic up north, us Yankees, wasn't the case. The Industrial Revolution brought suffering across all kinds of spectrums, and wealth got concentrated into a few hands. One guy had the oil, one guy had the railroads, and those families still are very well off. So the idea we're going to single out one group and pay them damages, it's just a political stunt. And what about the Indians? We come here, we cut down all the trees, we give them syphilis, then we exterminate them. What about them? What about all the people, like the Crusades? I was indoctrinated into Catholicism. I gave it up when I was 8 years old. But what about the Crusades? Like, why these people? Why now? It's just a political stunt. While the community becomes unaffordable for just the most affluent, you want to distract from the ridiculously high utility bills, the horrible situation downtown where businesses are dying, jobs are being lost, the catastrophe known as Dignity Village on the east side of town, which is a nuisance. You don't want to address any of that. You want to like create a big diversion. Well, I don't think people are buying it, sir. And I condemn racism. I have a young black woman living in my house for $200 a month for 3 years. She's like a member of my family. I am not a racist. But you guys are pathetic.
Thank you, Mr. Conish.
Thank you.
And if you would like answers to those questions, please participate in this process. There are good answers for all those questions that you have.
Change the overhead. My name is Gabe Kamowitz. I'm a candidate for Gainesville City Commission at large, 2 according to the county, A according to the city. I'm your worst nightmare. I'm a stranger in your strange land. I disagree with you on 3 specific points. You seem to have a timeline that stops in Newberry in 1916. I have here a journal and will produce witnesses that the last likely lynching in Gainesville was in 1968. The man who was involved was a man named Jack Dawkins. He's been excluded from your history. I've got clippings that go way back, not from the Gainesville Sun. I don't know if Commissioner Hutchinson was probably the only one alive and probably in high school then, was even aware of Jack Dawkins. I hope he was. But who is aware? Former Mayor Chalmers is aware. Who is aware? His attorney, John Dew, my age or older, in Tallahassee. He's the husband of Patricia Dew, who was the leader of the Tallahassee bus boycott. I've been a civil rights worker since 1964. What Hutchinson said with regard to redlining, I'm the only attorney that I know of in the United States that brought a successful lawsuit to penalize First Union, now Wells Fargo, for its redlining in Florida. I fought that for 3 years. I did that from Orlando. The site for anybody who's a lawyer was Kamowitz versus Board of Governors, 940 F. 2nd, 1610, 1991. The next point is the researchers have missed something. For years, there was a man named Powell who, for the county, assembled the list of slaves in Alachua County and their owners. They are named specifically. You can trace their heritage. My concern is who the slave owners were, not an abstract company. One of them was Sam Dell. In case you don't know who Sam Dell is, Sam Dell was city attorney for most of this century up till 1939, I think it was. Sam Dell has an endowed chair at the University of Florida. But the other one, the other family I can identify, is the Harn family. The Harn family that put up the Harn Plaza, the Harn Museum. It's here. It's now. It's not then. This is not Montgomery back then. Okay? And you want to know why I put up the thing for my credentials. But I want you to know that the last lawsuit for African Americans that I brought, very controversial, was raised by Kendi when he spoke here last. What was it about?
Thank you, Mr. Kamowitz.
Recognized black English dialect. I'm finishing
Mr.
the
Kamowitz,
sentence.
thank you very much.
Stop. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Have the next speaker, please. Anybody that wishes to speak to Truth and Reconciliation. Welcome.
Good evening or afternoon. I'm Tina Certain. I stand as a citizen. I am an elected school board member, and I would like to thank both bodies for your joint meeting today and including in it the Truth and Reconciliation process, the agenda item. I stood to thank you all for undertaking this. I know it's not going to be an easy process. Last year, I asked my colleagues on the school board to participate in this, and I got a few crickets, but I think folks are a little bit more open now. I stood actually to ask 2 questions, wondering if the school board has a part in that questionnaire that's available, because I haven't seen the questionnaire, if any of that relates to schooling. And the second, how does it relate to the Sheriff's Association? I know GPD is up under the city's purview, so they can be included with the city. But I was wondering with the sheriffs, because I know the sheriffs and the legal thing, Chair Hutch mentioned how someone could be arrested just for not having a job. So I'm wondering if we're including all of the agencies or just the county government and the local municipalities that are around. That was one thing. But I do want to thank you all for undertaking this. And I just want to say to the citizens that it is part for us to participate in this. The reason why we're even here at this point is because of I think the group from Madison, Wisconsin coming here with the NAACP and that process starting. There was another grassroots organization that I was a part of that started on the educational realm, the Alachua County Education Task Force, where we did town hall meetings. So there is a place for this in citizens to kind of push this work along. And as Commissioner Johnson said last week at the meeting that was held at Hartwood, they're doing this work, but it's for the citizens also to hold you all accountable. So we have a part to participate in that. I like to think that the citizens speaking, even before the Berber report was done, a good bit of that report was done. That same data was accumulated and compiled by a group that I'm a part of. So we knew what the disparities were, and we kept pushing and kept talking. So if we keep pushing and keep talking with elected officials and participating in the process, I think we can push the work along. And I commend you all for taking it. It's not going to be an easy process, and you're not going to please everyone. I realize that already, but I think if we just go and we are honest brokers in what we try to do, and we try to do the best that we can, knowing that we won't please everyone, we really put a good foot forward and try to do good work and to make amends in our community with having the truth and really trying to reconcile and do the best that we can to be in the middle. And if that means reparations in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we do that. I think we walk away from the process and we can be pleased. I'm willing to work and will join with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much for having me here. When we first started talking about this plan forward, I was a bit apprehensive, only because I wasn't sure what the city and county could do on the matter. But after seeing the work, I've decided that actually this is a great plan, and I think Commissioner Johnson and the rest of Gainesville and Alachua County for taking up the mantle of our racist past. Because unfortunately, for many southern states, there is a racist path, and I agree with the county chair where he says that reparations are needed to bring the past current with that balanced deficit. But I don't believe that every plan should have been in should be in dollars. There was one point where Mayor Poe said that due to the rules and laws of the past, there are many issues facing us today that are by design, that they are here with a racist background, and we have to get rid of them. One such thing that I would love to get rid of, that I would like you all to take a look at, is at-large voting for the county. At-large voting is steeped in a racist background. The purpose of that type of voting is to dilute the voice of the minority voter, the black voter, and to fool them into thinking that yes, they are able to vote for five commissioners, but their voice is drowned out by the rest of the population. That while they may have a desired choice, that choice isn't seen to come to the bench. I believe that as a county, we have to come together in order to right the wrongs of the past. We have to work our hardest to strike every racist aspect from our heritage, and realize that as we come forward today, that we are people who are better than we were yesterday. We're better than our forefathers, and this is how we start. We improve the lives in the business aspect in their homes and when they vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Ray Washington, I'm going to speak only to the county's process, which I believe is the agenda item. I sort of wish Mr. Hutchinson was the chair because I may be thrown out again and arrested. I really applaud the county for what it's doing. Truth and reconciliation process, as many of you know, this modern phrase started with Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa. I was in South Africa before apartheid fell, and also in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. That was when it was the last white colonial regime that was there. Throughout history, human beings have denigrated others, they have attacked others, they've killed others, they've tortured others, whether it was black people against black people, white people against white people, Christians against Muslims, Nicaeans against Gnostics. It's part of human nature. It's also part of human nature to have an arc that bends toward justice, and that is where I think many people in this room are headed toward today. I don't want to be overly critical, but I don't think it's overly critical. I've had two conversations that I can recall with Commissioner Hutchinson, one about a man named Monroe Lee and his dog. Monroe found that 100% of all of the arrests under Florida statute, I believe 738 or whatever it is, were against African Americans. Nothing was ever done. That process was stopped, and in its place was put in another process, the bad dog ordinance, which I think Commissioner Ward is a big supporter of that. That has also been inequitably applied. I get people calling me all the time about how that's being inequitably applied to African Americans. So this is going on. The idea that this is a reflection of Jim Crow, it's a reflection, but there's a rhyme that's going on today on this side of the County Commission building is the Stonewall Brigade. Many of those members in that plaque were members of the Ku Klux Klan. The top person there, the commander, is a brother of the Attorney General of the Confederacy. On this dais, Commissioner Poe, a year ago in January, named, and it was named, it wasn't just adopted, the J.J. Finley City Park Confederate General. The Confederate mayor, Sam Finley, who's buried in Evergreen Cemetery, is also being celebrated as the 150th anniversary. I've seen the timeline, finally, that's put together of the city of Gainesville's history. If you can't really tell the truth, you're not going to reconcile. I would participate in the process, but it's not a welcoming process. I'm willing to go to jail if necessary, Mr. Poe, but it's not a welcoming process. And the little bit that a person today would suffer is nothing compared to what people suffered years and years ago trying to have the right to speak about oppressive governments. And that's what we're, I understand. I've got about 10 seconds, and it's up to you, Mr. Poe. You can keep interrupting.
You have no more privilege than any other person.
There you go. That's great, Mr. Poe. And I'm going to finish my 10 seconds if you like, or you can recess the meeting for half an hour and claim it's a short meeting. I've got one last thing. I have one last thing to say, Mr. Poe. What you're doing is abusive to the people of Gainesville. I've told you that I had 10 seconds to finish my comments. The idea that you can think that you can pretend that you're not treating people differently because I would have been done 10 seconds ago if you would just stop this ridiculous thing that you're doing. Mr. Poe, it doesn't reflect well on you. It doesn't reflect well on the City Commission. It reflects
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Do we have any other speakers that would wish to speak on the issue of truth and reconciliation? Mr. Kamewitz, the meeting's back on. Thank you. You can catch him right after. Mr. Johnson, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Anthony Johnson. I have mixed feelings on truth and reconciliation. As a black man, I grew up in this town, was born here, grew up in this town. And I look at what goes on currently. I feel that the injustices of the past, they were wrong, they were bad. And I wish there was some way we could provide some reconciliation to that process. But I am one of those black folks that's looking forward. Okay, I know we don't all think alike. There are some that want to look back at this issue, and I respect them for that. But when I see things like, this is what I see and hear on a regular basis in my community. An incident happens at Butler Plaza. A person of interest goes out on the APB on the radio call, a tall black man in a blue jacket, person of interest, for an incident that happened in Butler Plaza. I'm walking down Waldo Road, minding my own business. Patrol car comes by and sees, hey, there's a black man in a blue jacket. Next thing I know, I got guns in my face, I'm on the ground, where have you been for the last, can you tell me what, I'm discombobulated, I'm terrified, I don't know what to do. Next thing I know, I'm getting fingerprinted, and I'm getting picture taken. Suddenly now my picture, my mugshot is all over the news, all in the papers, it's everywhere. By the time this thing finally unwinds and some sensibility comes into the process, realize that, hey, I'm not who you want. But I've been subjected to the J-Pay system at the jail, to make a phone call. I mean, I'm all over the news, it's in the paper, online. I mean, sure, I get to walk out of jail once everything gets settled and worked out, you know. But look what has happened to me. I've been ruined. I mean, you gotta stop that. I haven't seen a judge and all this is happening to me. I haven't seen an attorney and my face is all over the news. Someone mentioned there are multiple types of lynchings that can take place. We're talking about, prior, 18th, 19th, 20th century ropes and trees and all. But there are 21st century lynchings too that's taking place that we really need to focus on before we start spending too much time, too many resources on the past. Okay? I mean, the past, there's history is something that we should cherish, but when you got incidents so blatant that's taking place right now in reality and not even address them, I have reservations. I mean, I wonder, are we doing the right thing in the right order? That's what we need to be thinking about. Are we using the right sequence to bring about racial justice and equality in this city?
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Anybody else? Okay, we will close down public comment on that item and turn back to the commission. Commissioner Cornell?
Real quick, for our staff, have we contacted the school board or the Sheriff's Association with regards to identifying the process we're going through and invite them to participate or at least give them some contact information on who they could contact in response to Member Certain's comments?
Ms. Cornell, Carl Smart, Commissioners, Mayor, and Chair. We have been in touch with staff from the school district. Mr. Don Fitzpatrick was at our last meeting, at the steering committee meeting, and he's agreed to help coordinate the essay program. The essay program follows the historical marker program, where you allow high school students to write essays in reference to different historical events. And there was prize money that would be provided by the Equal Justice Institute for those winners. They usually apparently take the top 5 and provide scholarship monies to those students. And so we are looking at taking advantage of that once we get to that point. So we have made contact with the school district, And also, we've had a couple of representatives to talk directly with the school superintendent, who has agreed to support the program. Now, we haven't, to my knowledge, talked with the sheriff, and I think that's a great idea. We can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Can I quickly respond to that? One of the things that we discussed, I don't know, a year ago was sticking to Board of County Commissioner business, at least initially, because until we've done a good job of our own stuff, we don't need to be pointing the fingers. The other thing is that essentially within every organization there's a core group of folks who really want to do this work, and it's work. And there are others who are happy that somebody else is doing it. And this only works when it comes from within. There's undoubtedly people at the sheriff's office or at the University of Florida or at the school board or any of a number of other institutions who want to do this work, and they need to get themselves organized, and we hope to help them in any way we can, but the best way we can help them is showing everybody how to do it well and how to do it completely. So that's, I think, our initial goal. We know that law enforcement, we know the judiciary, we know a lot of areas are fraught with past and maybe current racism, but we need to get our own house in order before we start telling them to do the same.
And my comments weren't meant to tell anyone what to do, just to inform those who have been contacted so that they can do some of that work.
It'll be interesting to see who shows up at this meeting on the 17th.
Yeah.
Whether the sheriff sends somebody, and whether University of Florida's there, and whether the banks show up, that sort of thing.
Well, again, I think you made the point, it needs to be an organic community process, and so to the extent the county can serve as a facilitator of information, as a gatherer of information, as a website where, as we learn more about our past, I mean, we even had Mr. Kamowitz gave some information that I was not aware of, and hopefully we can get some names. And just to your point, Mr. Chair, our job is really to listen and gather information, and so the more we can do that and provide those opportunities, I think it's a good process.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out that the city has a mobility workshop scheduled on the 17th during that time. So if we're not there, it's not that we don't care. It's that this was already previously scheduled, and we absolutely will continue to support and take part in the process as possible. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'd add to that, through that county website that you have, there's that contact form. And so just anybody, any person, any group, any formal organization, if this is something that they feel is important and want to participate, fill out that form so we can share that with everybody else working, and we can find a point of contact and figure out, what's the appropriate way for them to participate in this. I think from the beginning, the belief is that this is only successful if everybody participates in their own way. It's not going to be Alachua County government sort of figuring out the solutions for everybody and then, passing them out, right? So, this will build, but yeah, I think what the city is trying to do is, just what you're trying to do internally, figure out where we are and how we can improve what we do. And if every organization does that first, and then we can build the connections and start finding those bridge opportunities. So I'm really hopeful. Thank you, Alachua County staff, for all of the various presentations and updates. This is going to get so much harder before it gets better. And I want to thank the people that came here today with the intention of being participatory in the process. We need folks to take this seriously, to understand what a challenge this is ahead of us, and that we absolutely need good faith folks to show up with their baggage and everything, and be willing to go through this long and difficult but ultimately purposeful journey. And for folks that aren't serious about that, then you can, you can do your thing. This is not that thing. This is something more serious. Okay, with that, we will move on to general public comment. Anybody that has any thing they'd like to share with us that wasn't on our agenda today? Sarah's welcome.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Scott Hesh. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to city and county commissioners. I go out to Dignity Village and Grace Market on a regular basis. I was out there on Sunday, and the new director, Helen Strain, informed me that this coming Monday, approximately the 10th of February, all individuals who are not registered in Dignity Village have to be gone. This is approximately 50 to 70 people. That's the low estimate, I think, because those numbers are old. Basically, I just wanted this opportunity to bring this to your attention and let y'all know that this is what's going on. From what I understand, most of the fence is supposed to be done by the 15th. Approximately March 1st, the 30-day notices to the people who are registered begins, and by the end of March, they expect Dignity Village to pretty much be gone. So I don't understand the rush with the unregistered individuals at such an awkward time and with, well, more notice than normal. They were given 8 days notice or maybe 10 days notice. But this may or may not be the next wave of individuals moving downtown. And anything we could do to make this transition more appropriate. I don't know where this is coming from. Helen Strain works for the city, so somebody needs to figure this out, and we need to get these people moved or, you know, treated humanely at the very least. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hesh, for sharing that. Mr. Kamowitz.
My name is Gabe Kamowitz. I would like a disc, a public record request, a disc of this afternoon's proceedings. As I indicated, I'm a candidate for the at-large seat, but I'm not running to win. I'm not taking contributions. I'm there primarily for one issue. It's as if I was, let's say, anti-prohibition, and that was my focus. My focus is simply make Gainesville Butterfly City again. I hold myself responsible for having caused its origin and then its demise in December of 2017 by daring the commission to take down the Butterfly City signs if they weren't going to do something about the trademark. I never expected that that would occur that evening, but it did. And they also canceled any further meetings. I've now got the support of one city commissioner. I hope to get the support of others, but I'm going to be on the campaign trail for that issue. Why is it so important? In October of this year, in the United Kingdom, in the city of Hull, the Labour Party candidate, Emma Hardy, believed she was creating the first butterfly city in the world in her city of Hull. She won an upset victory in the Brexit fight. She's there. There is a butterfly city in there. You can look at the internet. Our butterfly city is still there ahead of us, ahead of hers, but obviously doesn't exist. I'm calling that we do so particularly. It's an opportunity to create sister cities between Gainesville and Hull, United Kingdom. Kids will be pen pals writing about the butterfly, writing about Lepidoptera, writing about pollination, writing about the environment, writing about climate change. I have advocated, one of those who doesn't hear me is my son, who is probably the international authority on forestry, that the butterfly be used as a symbol for the climate change, environmental movement that we all so strongly believe in. And so that's my pitch. I've got leaflets to distribute. I'm going to find out how hard it is to distribute them. I left them on the front desk last time because the alligator was left there. You can only have city publications, but the minute you put on somebody else, I can put my leaflet. I learned this afternoon before I walked in here that the alligator is now distributed downstairs. It's not there. So anybody who wants one, I have them here. I don't want to push it on anybody, but I'd be glad to circulate it. I will be pushing it again tonight at one of the forums, and that's what I will be pushing all the way through this election process. Thank you. I'm sorry about these other issues that have come up that seem to be more important. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else have any general public comments? Welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for facilitating that meeting between myself and the team at GRU for the information systems, IT folks. We did have the conference call, and I think everybody who needed to be on the line was there, but it resulted in basically me being insulted. So I just thought I would give you the results of what happened there. I don't know if they told you or not, but the request I asked for from them was basically to allow me, when my meter reader comes out to my home, reads my meter, I can stand there with my cell phone, take the picture of the reading that the meter reader read, and now I can take the calculation sheet that GRU issues, and I can sit down and I can calculate my monthly, that billing period's electric bill that day, the day that the meter reads my meter. And you might ask, now, why is that important? If you don't get your bill online, it could be 10 days before you actually get your statement, when the meter reader was there 10 days ago. Now, to a person that's got deep pockets, that doesn't matter. I just pay my bill, doesn't matter. But if you, like me, meager income, not a lot of funds, the more money that I can know that I'm going to have to pay, the sooner I know I'm going to have to pay it, the better I could better manage my finances. So if I could manage it 10 days earlier, I may not be making some of the purchases that I would have made if I'd known what my fluctuating GRU bills are going to be. So all I was asking is let me know, give me the ability to calculate my bill as early as possible so that I can better organize my finances. And they told me to do that would be a security risk to the company. I have a security certificate. I'm certified in security. And they told me an email sending me that information would be a security risk to the company. Security risk to the company.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I have something to say. My name's Donald Shepard, the People's Representative. And as People's Representative, I heard a lot of good things in this meeting that need to come out. And I want to stand here and say that none of this is going to matter a bit because nothing's getting done. East Gainesville, I went on East Gainesville over on 23rd Avenue and seen the houses that were going out, taking, helping people. And the shambles that going on out there, the disgrace of houses is blighted. I cannot believe. Talk about slavery, to see that people having to live that way, they're no better than they were back then. How do I know that? Because my grandmother raised black Americans and housed them, and that's how I know that how they should be treated and how they were treated. East Gainesville was raised by my godfather back in 1921 when the military brought a base here and started it. That's how East Gainesville started the city of Gainesville. But where's recognition for that? Is the commissioner from the county going to take and make that available? No. I can tell you right now, it isn't going to happen. If so, it would have been done by now. But these people that are here today talking need their evaluation, need that status that he says he's going to have done. I'd like to see that myself. I'd love to have a copy of that because that there is only an inkling of what I can do when I get in to be the mayor of this city. And this here is a need, not a request only from me. It's a request from all the people of the city of Gainesville that know me and know what my heart is. And they know that this here isn't a sore subject for me to have to stand here and to talk about this. This is a sad thing. This, you see little kids cry in front of you and say, why is this coming up? You know, my grandma and grandpa went through this. Why do I need to go through this? But yet, people are bringing it to this bench, to this city, in this county. And that needs to stop because God made all of us. We didn't make each other. And if God didn't make us, then there would be no equal rights or equality or whatever that Gail Johnson's trying to start here. This is not the history that was. She wants to bring that board. She needs to take and have the information back.
Thank you,
like
Mr.
this
Shepherd.
gentleman right here has
Mr.
brought
Shepherd,
me to.
thank you. Your time has expired. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else have any general public comments? Items not on the agenda. Okay, we'll close public comment. Any member comment? All right, thank you all. I appreciate them. Oh, good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We got some information about at the last, I guess, CRA meeting, January 8th. We got some information about some monies that have not yet been spent in each of the districts, and I just was wondering what the process is. Is it the same process for how we're going to spend the money going forward in the entire district, or have you guys had a discussion about that process for those specific districts? The three big ones are College Park, $4.8 million, downtown, $4.6 million, and Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street, $1.1 million.
Yeah, we have had that discussion. Mr. Feldman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, members of both commissions. My name is Lee Feldman. I'm the city manager. Each of those funds will need to be spent in the same district that they were generated because they were generated when it was a CRA.
And so what's the process for determining projects, or have they already been determined?
They have not yet been determined. We're preparing those as part of our work plan, which we will be meeting with the county commission on March 31st.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Feldman. thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks for the thoughtful meeting, everybody. I appreciate it. We are adjourned. Mr. Chair?
We're adjourned too.